Good afternoon, and welcome to the 2019 Sloan Sports Analytics Conference. My name is Jill Payne, and I'm a Sloan Fellow MBA student at the MIT School of Management. And it's my pleasure today to bring to you our panel, No Lead is Safe, Innovation in Sports. Our panelists today are Amy Brooks, who's Chief Innovation Officer and President of Team Marketing and Business Operations for the NBA. Steve Pagliuca, who's Managing Partner and Co-owner of the Boston Celtics. Jason Robbins, who's CEO and founder of DraftKings. Saj Cherian, who's partner of Kinetic, which owns Fanatics. And our panel today is going to be moderated by Eric Shemi, who's a sports business reporter for CNBC. If you'd like to submit questions for one of the panelists, please do so through Twitter using the hashtag SportsInnovators. The panel will last for about 45 minutes, and we'll save 10 minutes for Q&A at the end. And with that, I'll turn it over to Eric.
Thank you, Jill. Appreciate it. You guys can hear me, right? Sounds good. You know, there's a lot of seats here in the front, so if you guys are way in the back, you guys can get closer. We're not going to spit or bite. And we know that we are the last thing that is in the way between getting drinks and food and all the good stuff, so hopefully we'll make it entertaining and worth your time. So this is a real all-star panel that I'm pleased to be moderating with. But we'll try to keep it interactive and not cookie cutter and boring, because we know how some of these conference panels can go, especially 5 o'clock on a Friday. I'm going to start right with Amy, because Chief Innovation Officer, you're the only person with innovation in your title. None of these guys have that in their title. What does that mean? Because most companies don't have that job. Is this one of these made-up jobs that they had to give you a promotion, so they said, we'll make her a CIO, but we'll make the I innovation?
A little of everything in that. So I am the Chief Innovation Officer. Other companies actually do have this title, I have learned.
But not a lot. It's not like CEO.
There are quite a few. It's a combination of an innovation and a strategy role, I would say. That part of my job, I'm responsible for helping everyone heard from Adam earlier. We have a lot of different strategic growth initiatives and innovation going on, and I'm responsible for working with our leadership to figure out what we should do and how we should prioritize that in a world where there's a lot that's new and different and taking up our time.
Steve.
I'm so far from you.
I know this is far. I feel like I should turn my seat this way. We can circle around. So Steve,
it's fine.
Co-owner of the Celtics, you've got the GE jersey patch that everyone is familiar with. I assume everyone who watches an NBA game have noticed the jersey patches over the last couple of years. That's something that's been a partnership between teams like you, the league office with Amy. Where do those innovations come from? Is that the team saying to the league, hey, we want permission to make more money, so you got to give us some advertising space, that the league has to change those rules? Or is it the league saying to teams, you guys have to start doing this?
The actual answer is it's a combination of the two. And I would say, there are some companies maybe that have chief innovation officer that doesn't mean anything, but certainly in the NBA it's meant something. And I think Amy's done a fantastic job. I've been there for 16 years now watching this. And the NBA's been, to me, the best league in terms of getting out ahead of the trends. So the patch is a perfect example where it just didn't happen overnight. We watched what other teams were doing with other leagues in Europe. If you go to Europe, the soccer teams have huge emblems on them. When that came in,
you don't even see the team logo. I just know it's the Emirates team. I don't know what the actual team is. Yeah.
So we decided we didn't want that. We still wanted to maintain the integrity of the teams. So we worked with the league and ownerships across the league, worked and said, let's design a patch that won't dominate the jersey, but it'll be significant for advertisers. And it was controversial when it started, even with the patches being out there on other teams. But they studied it, put in a pilot program, and so far it's worked very, very well. We're very proud to have that patch on our jersey. I think GE's done a fantastic job, and we've made it more than a patch. It's talking about innovation. The biggest innovations I've seen is now you're getting close to the sponsors. You're integrating them into your game. We're using GE stat packages. We're using GE healthcare equipment. We have a situation where we do a STEM van that goes into schools with GE. So it's all integrated. It's not only a patch, it's a whole program with the sponsor, so they can take full advantage of the Celtics brand, and we can take full advantage of their brand. It's worked out very, very well.
How come you guys ban gambling from the patches? Why is Jason getting left out if he wants to get himself a patch? Why? He's an innovator. It's legal now. Why can't he get a patch?
He is. We just didn't want our players right now at this stage promoting go bet right here. And that's why, because it's not legal in every state. There's lots of complications. But to Steve's point, a lot of the collaboration came between team and league. And there was debate, should the league sell this on behalf of the teams or should the team sell it? And what he just told you, what the Celtics are doing all around, it's not just about the patch, it's about an entire platform for these partners. But
Jason,
no,
sorry,
Jason.
Jason, get in there.
I think 2 or 3 years ago, we had our logo on the New York Liberty. I know that was probably a little bit easier to get through the league than the NBA, but we had our logo on the New York Liberty. We were just doing fantasy at the time, but it was actually a full logo on the front.
Where does innovation come from more? Because I'll go to you, Saj, from the Fanatics point of view. I know Fanatics is owned by the parent company Kinetic, but I'll just use the Fanatics word because most people know that. I mean, you guys are retail, merchandise, it's buying jerseys. It doesn't seem like that should be so innovative because people have been buying clothes and jerseys for a long time. So what makes you guys stand out? Well, especially from, and maybe they'll judge because these are, in a way, your partners and they can agree or disagree with if you're lying or not.
I mean, look, the one thing that I know that they'll do is hold me accountable for it because, Fanatics were a partner to the leagues and to many of the teams.
I'll just say real quickly, anyone, if you buy a jersey, you get your favorite player, one of those jerseys, those replicas, it's coming from his company in almost any circumstance, no matter what sport, what league we're talking about.
Well, we're hoping that's the case, and that's more true today than it was 5 years ago. And I think part of that is because we've actually adopted what we call v-commerce, vertical commerce.
E-commerce, that's new, right?
Vertical commerce, and from our perspective, you really have to kind of own your differentiation. You give a lot of credit to Amazon and Alibaba. They've gone out, kind of the first generation of e-commerce with marketplaces, and the challenge for someone who's offering the same thing that Amazon or Alibaba offer is that you're going to get killed, right? Because they have such massive scale and they're great at selling other people's stuff. So we have to actually differentiate ourselves by actually having product that you can't get anywhere else. And so we've partnered with the leagues and teams. They're the IP owners, but ultimately we're manufacturing the products. And so with our vertical engine, we've actually been able to adapt what has been a sleepy industry in licensed sports, for the on-demand economy, right? So in food, in transportation, in lodging, customers want things in real time. And so what we've been able to do is, because we manufacture our products on demand, we can take advantage of that trade. So when Kyrie Irving goes to the Celtics, we're in a position because we have the blanks and we can actually finish those jerseys. So those jerseys can be actually made in the hands of fans almost in real time.
So the last couple of weeks we saw Commissioner Silva roll out the digital jersey where the names and the numbers can change on the back. At some point, could we change the logos on the front? So let's say I like Kevin Durant. He's on the Warriors now, but I want to keep it Durant and 30, or I forget his number, I know Steph's 30, but it's Durant's number on the back. He changes teams, but maybe I want my logo in the front to change. At what point, it's like you said, you guys can print blanks and then change them to whoever the team is, the logo, you can print off these blanks quickly. But if we can change the backs, why can't we change the fronts? And then in which case, can I buy one jersey for the rest of my life and I'm just effectively wearing a digital screen? And then would you guys put them out of business? Because it's like, who needs to keep buying jerseys? We're done.
It's funny. So for those of you who were at the Tech Summit, or you watched, so maybe Adam Silver's Instagram or Twitter feed, he actually talked about putting us out of business, with these
you guys pay
wearable
a lot of
jerseys.
Money. You guys pay a lot of money not to be put out of business.
But I think Adam said it partly in jest because he's a big believer in Fanatics. But I think what that innovation that you're seeing, actually a couple years ago, my partner Michael Rubin at the Tech Summit on wearable devices was actually talking about the technology that we were looking at that actually changes the jerseys. And so our thought is that actually helps us down the road. All it means is that we're innovating in the business model, because basically what happens is you actually would buy that digital jersey, and that's going to cost more than the $150 or something like that you would spend today. But you buy it once, and then you would buy maybe a subscription, right? And so
So
the
I have to
model
subscribe
changes.
to my own
So you
clothes?
subscribe to it, yeah. So you would subscribe to it, and then you can get a certain package where you get the home and the away jersey, maybe an alternative, maybe the Christmas jersey, St. Patrick's Day jersey. So I think we're going to potentially move into a model where when we get to wearable jerseys that are sort of digital wearable jerseys, you're looking at subscription model evolution and innovation in that way. So I think that's a new business opportunity for us. We're still working hard at making the technology real, but I think you're gonna see it sooner than you think.
Where does more innovation come from? Is it a league, is it a team, or is it the private outside companies? Because I could see companies like you guys, so many ways to make money, but I assume there's a lot of things you guys want to do that teams and leagues say, we're not comfortable with that. We're not, is it true that they're the ones holding you guys back?
No,
Easy.
No, I don't think. I think it's a collaborative effort, right? Because we're always challenging. We're always coming up with ideas. We're always, challenging the leagues, and sometimes we push them, to the edge of their comfort zone. But look,
usually they're not pushing you to the edge of your comfort zone, right? It's usually a one-way.
I don't know
about that.
Disagree? Jump in.
I don't know about that. I think, key to our innovation is our network, meaning teams. I think a secret sauce of the NBA is the collaboration amongst teams innovating in the league. And same for our partners, whether it's Fnatic, whether it's Nike, we look to them a lot of times to be an extension of us for innovation. And certainly when it comes to merchandise, we think there's a lot more opportunity. You heard Adam talk about transactional friction today in ticketing with our ticketing partners and merchandise. There's an opportunity to really deliver more to our fans. And I think we always are striving, whether it's DraftKings, Fanatics, et cetera, to do that.
But I think it's great. That's why it's perfect to have Amy, because you not only have to have ideas bubble from within the NBA, but she's got to scour the universe of what's happening globally, what's happening in the WNBA, what's happening with esports. So it is a huge area right now. And the great thing about the NBA is they've actually embraced it and been at the forefront of all the most recent developments. So you watch gaming, we have several teams have their own e-teams right now. That's because we studied that. Many of the owners knew about gaming, and we put together a league, and that's starting to go in the right direction. WNBA, the D-League. The D-League now, I think we announced a major sponsorship deal that's going across all of our properties. So that innovation really comes because someone's focused on it, they're receptive to it, and taking all the good ideas that come from Fanatics or DraftKings or any of the vendors out there.
Here's also what I would say to that. So the league is going to drive most of this innovation through its partners, Fanatics, us hopefully, and whoever makes I think it's called Shot Tracker, all the different partners. They're not going to build all those things themselves. For those partners are focused on our businesses. So of course we're going to be the ones pushing. Of course we're going to want to do more. They have to consider what it means in the context of their broader business. And sometimes there may be a situation where it is something that will help us grow revenue or help us reach more customers, maybe even help some of their objectives, but there are other things that matter less to us. So of course, we're going to be the ones pushing more.
And I'd add specifically in the world of technology, we don't consider ourselves a technology company. And technology is what we want to be very good at. And so we definitely rely on our partners to help us there.
And I think it's not just the leagues, but the teams themselves, right? Or have their own ecosystems, where they're pushing the innovation. And so I think there's innovation that's happening at the league level, but there's also a great deal of innovation happening at the team level.
What does that mean, innovation at the team level? Is that on court trying to win innovation, or is this business, technology, community, sponsorship? That kind of innovation.
I think it's both. For example, the last set of playoffs last year, we experimented with having augmented reality on phones, where you would have a 3D image of the court, and you were watching the game, and then it would pop up. The shot that just was taken had a 33% chance of going in, right as the guy is shooting it.
And then could you gamble on that in the future?
Well,
before it goes into that 1 second if you're quick enough?
Well, you have issues of 5G and latency. We have to there's a lot of technological issues you have to sort out on this gambling thing. So you can't really have someone in the stadium seeing something before anybody else sees it happen and betting when they know it's going to happen. Or you can't get the bet in late after it's happened. So there's going to be a lot of technology, just studied and discussed so it's fair, it's transparent, and there's no gaming of the system. But again, we're experimenting with things like that. There's a school of thought. There's some NBA owners, I think, that would say they want people in the game to focus on the game. I think I come down to the side of another group that says today's generation is different. You know, when we bought the team, there was barely, there wasn't usage of Apple phones and digitization of everything.
What year did you guys buy the team?
2003.
Right, and the iPhone was 07.
Yeah,
so not even close.
Yeah, we didn't even have the whole thing hadn't happened yet. So today's fan that comes in, you know, if you look at, I'm at the games, I'm the same as the fans. They're looking at their phone when there's a break. They're watching the action, but they want a bigger experience, and so we've got to deliver that bigger experience. And they want to also project out from the stadium that they're at the stadium with their friends and what happened at the stadium. So we've got to get better systems, better stadium systems, 5G coming in. And the sky's the limit. And it's all about fan engagement at the end of the day and taking advantage of the digital and making it be part of your program and not against that program.
How do you guys get people to go either to the game or to watch on TV? Because there's different winners and losers there. Like, you often see guys wearing jerseys at games, but if you're at home, you're more likely to be able to get on your phone and bet stuff. You as a team person, you as a league person, there's multiple stakeholders here. Some companies and partners don't want anyone going to the games because it's much better if they're sitting at home on their TV. And then, of course, other people, their business relies on people going to the games. How do you guys balance that?
For the NBA, 1% of our fans will ever attend a game.
1%?
1%.
That's it?
They just don't live near the arenas. So it is two separate strategies to reach both. But first and foremost is filling our buildings. And
that's only 1%, so should they matter that much?
But that's where the core product emanates from. So that's where you see the energy of the game, the full buildings, with sponsors, et cetera. And so when someone in China is watching that game, they're excited, they want to be there. So, but it is two very different strategies, and we're very focused on evolving the fan experience in arena so it's better, because there is an expectation that it will be better than watching at home, while we're trying to improve the telecast and make it more interactive and make it more personalized and address some of the issues with people actually consuming our games easily.
Yeah, we're fortunate in the NBA that you fill up a stadium, 18, 19,000 people. So it's tougher to fill up a football stadium, if things aren't going well. So the NBA has been in big demand, and many of the owners point out that even the best teams are going to lose 15, 20 games a year, but you want every fan coming in to have a great experience whether you win or lose. So it's now become more about winning and losing. What is your experience at the stadium? The NBA is very fortunate that our seats, even the seats that are halfway up the aisles, they're closer than most seats at a football or soccer game, because the stadiums are just smaller and they're meant for basketball, and the courtside seats are unbelievable. So I agree with Amy. The more excitement that we can have in the stadium, both our fans are happier, and we're not going to win every game, and we want them to have a really great experience.
What about the idea, not necessarily at your stadium or in the NBA, but you hear about in some stadiums they block the internet, so it's hard for people to get on their phones and, let's say, check out the DraftKings app or maybe make a quick Fanatics purchase if they get excited about the game. Those sort of rules that hold innovation back because, we're preventing people from doing the things that they want to do. What do you guys think?
I think that's short-sighted, and I remember early days, people talk about, let's not make the investments in Wi-Fi because we want the fans, when they're in the venue, to actually focus on the game. But I think that's short-sighted, because at the end of the day, the fan is going to dictate how they want to consume, right? And they want to, in many cases, they are trying to get access to info, on stats or whatever as they're watching the game, or they're trying to share that experience, with their friends who are not, at the game. So to basically tell the fan that, no, you can't interact, or experience the game the way you want to, I think is short-sighted. And so I'm hearing less and less owners saying that we're not going to make those investments. In fact, what they're saying is, hey, how do we get 5G, into the venue, as soon as we can, so that we're ready for that adoption, because that gets you, 5G, that gives you, I think, 20x, the bandwidth, and so you can have a much more immersive experience, and then play around with things like AR and VR actually in the venue.
Yeah, the trend now is definitely the opposite. It's more every time they build a new building now, a core consideration is the internet capabilities. I think sometimes it's hard in the old stadiums because they're not built for it. And so it's actually a massive project to upgrade.
Like renovating an old house, basically.
Yeah, but I think every time you see a new arena or stadium being built, one of the things they're making sure now is that there's good Wi-Fi.
We have a saying at Bain Capital, we invest in a business, we want it to be on the right side of history. And the right side of history on this issue, clearly to me, is more connectivity, more user friendliness, more ease of use of any devices you have in the stadium. and that's going to be the winning strategy. So we have to upgrade these stadiums. We have to integrate it with things that fans can do interactively, whether it be ordering food, sending pictures of the game, anything they can do in quote, the downtime, because these fans really want to be entertained 100% of the time.
And to add to that, I think you're just going to see the phone become additive to your experience and enhance your experience. It's not about looking down and checking your email. It's about betting. Most of, Jason knows this well, but as we see betting evolve, when people bet in the UK on NBA games, which is legal, about 70% of the bets are in-play bets. So I think you can expect to see people betting on the game. You can expect to see people sharing their experiences with others and also interacting with the video boards. We think there's a lot more potential of the video boards in our arenas, the biggest screens ever. We had one team this year do trivia for all the fans. That's right on your phone. Everyone's playing against each other. You see the leaderboard real time. You'll see more and more of that. And that'll just help the building feel like a community.
That's a good one. It's like the HQ trivia app, but you just do it in the game and compete against them.
Yeah. And look, we also want, for example, the fans, if they want to order merchandise and then have it delivered to their seat, or
that quickly.
Yeah, no, in some of the venues, yeah.
Because you have jerseys just in the team store.
In many cases, we run the venues, the merchandise in those venues, and so we can actually, the consumer is driving this, right? The consumer says, "Hey, I want to order a jersey and pick it up when I'm walking into the stadium, so I can actually wear it. As I'm arriving, I want to order it when I'm in my seat, to my seat. In fact, I don't want to carry it home. I just want to order it in the venue, but then have it delivered to my house. So, however, we want to give the fan options, right, to get that extra sale, but also make sure that they have a great experience, and you need great connectivity in the venue to make that happen."
Steve, your experience at Bain Capital, investing in companies, looking at companies in a traditional business, traditional corporate world, when you see what's happening on the sports and sports tech innovation side, is it better or worse than sort of rest of regular corporate America in terms of the speed, the intellectual capabilities of the people involved, and the willingness to take risks?
I think it's as good or better. There have been several, Sport Radar is a company that's been very successful, delivering state-of-the-art stats. That's going to become, a very large and successful company, especially if the gambling boom comes in. DraftKings really wasn't a gambling company. I never thought it was a gambling company.
They went out of their way to say they weren't a gambling company until it was convenient, and then, actually, we're ready to gamble.
It never made sense it was a gambling company since the better players could win. So in gambling, normally, there's a normalization, but really good players at DraftKings won, so it didn't make sense to me. But now they could take advantage when it becomes legal throughout the country. So sports actually has been a leader, I think, in innovation, and especially now with the revenues doubling and tripling because of television, foreign rights, and really the shrinking of the world. The world is now, when we went, for example, we went and played in Madrid, Spain, I saw at least 3,000 Celtics jerseys in Madrid, Spain, in the stadium.
Are they Fanatics jerseys, or are they some Euro knockoffs?
Oh, probably Fanatics, but probably Fanatics could get them,
Fanatics.
Get them over to Europe. Yeah. And you would have thought we had a home game there, and that means the world has shrunk, and so the NBA is totally global. They're in India. We have programs in Africa. Mark Tatum does a great job getting everywhere. So we're only in the early stages of this kind of globalization of the game, and then technology is going to play a huge role with huge scale globally.
Would there ever be the need for public financing? When you think about team ownerships are so expensive now that individuals can't afford teams to buy on their own, and the way that we see stocks get IPOs, would there ever, maybe this is an Amy question or a Steve question, some equity that the public could get involved, almost like a financial innovation? Like the NBA is so expensive that unless you're the former CEO of Microsoft, you really can't afford to buy a team on your own, so maybe we should make it like the stock market, and you could buy pieces of teams, and you could help raise those valuations, because I don't know if we're going to get the same 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x jumps that we got in the last 10 years. I don't think we're going to see teams worth $10 billion because no one can afford $10 billion teams.
Packers are that way already.
Right, exactly. Will we see more teams set up like the Packers?
Well, I would say that, first of all, for better or for worse, there's no shortage of people that want to buy teams, that have the capital to buy teams at very high valuations.
But now they got to all group up. You got to get 25 of them.
No, there's
to put it
plenty of ones that don't have to group up.
Yeah.
The world has had an explosion of wealth creation, mainly through the internet. The internet has been like the railroads in the early days of America. And so you see globally now, because it's a global game, you can't only count Americans. There's foreign ownership of teams, both soccer teams in the UK, for example, going for big prices, and NBA teams. So I think we're a long ways off. And I think somewhat it may be problematic in some cases to have small investors invest in teams with the various ups and downs of the team. So I think there's plenty of people that can pay money for teams, or a group of 2 or 3 people for the foreseeable future, maybe way out if revenues keep going up and valuations go up into the which would be great, the $10 billion range. You'd have to think about things like that. But for now, every time there's a team sold, at least the ones I've seen in Europe, very competitive soccer teams, in the USA, basketball teams, football teams, they go for very high prices. And the second thing is, most of the owners I know to date, they didn't invest in these teams for financial reasons. We bought the Celtics. You know, it was losing money. We wanted to win a championship, so we put together a group of folks that, under the leadership of Wick Grossbeck, that wanted to win a championship. And when we talked to people to get involved, we didn't say, you know, we're going to get you a 17% IRR. We said, you know, we want to get a 17th banner. We're going to try to structure this so you don't have to put more money in. But by the way, if we have to ask you, you should be prepared, because back then it looked like it could be a long turnaround. So the motivation of most of the folks that buy the sports team is a community asset. They want to keep them a long time. They don't turn over very much. And we've been all fortunate, you know, that people that love the game got together, and the game has created the value. You know, I'd be lying to you if I told you I invested in the team like I invested in Bain Capital, because I could have done 10 other buyouts that on paper had a higher rate of return. We just became very fortunate that we had great leadership in the NBA. The game's a great game. And this globalization and digitization, I think, has lifted all the values of all the kind of iconic sports franchises.
Right, and I think the teams are becoming better businesses, right? So I think, you know, if you rewound, you know, the tape 10 years ago, you had a lot more teams that were actually losing money. The capital calls were significant, you know, but given kind of where media has gone, and given a lot of the businesses that teams are building in and around their venues and their platforms, I think sports ownership is actually a pretty good business.
And it's been great for the deal that was signed with the players, which is a 50-50 partnership, has been a fantastic concept. So as the league revenues go up, the players' revenues go up. So the players are very happy people right now. I think salaries have tripled in the time we've owned the team. And so if you look at the NBA players versus other sports league players, you know, they're doing very, very well. And we love it as owners to be in partnership with the players. So if we benefit, they benefit, and it's basically 50-50. So it's been a very good structure so far for us that Adam and the competition and the committees came up with, and the players came up with, and it's been fantastic.
Amy, do you feel the pressure to keep those revenues growing and growing and growing by helping teams do better with their business operations, do better in their marketing, do better in their local areas, as long as, you know, in addition to the national deals?
You know, I've been at the league a while now, and what has changed so much is the perspective of ownership and our new owners coming in. It's no longer us having to push the teams. The teams are out there themselves. This new breed of owner, you know, Steve and Wick is just an example. They're pushing us. Look what Steve Ballmer is doing with Court Vision, right? With Second Spectrum. Like, he's out there in front. We're partnering with him. And it's not just on the technology front or the business front, it's certainly the real estate front. You know, Peter Guber, I was with this week, one of the owners of the Warriors, and he's saying how owning a sports team is the most complex business he's ever been in. And it's true, it's a concessions business, it's a ticketing business, a real estate business, merchandise business. So we have teams out there in front of us, so that's what's fun. So it's not pressure. The pressure is really only to embrace and try to grab hold of the different directions.
Yeah, it really has changed. I agree with that 100%. And the league has done a great job bringing in great people, like Amy, who actually worked at Bain, my favorite company. And so we're demanding of them. They have to hire more and more people, because now the teams are doing the same themselves, but they're reaching out to the league saying, how can I do this better? What are the other teams doing? You know, we're in a partnership with the rest of the teams. So if we find one team doing something great, we should do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example. When I've been in Teambo 10 years, and you know, at first we have a small marketing department at our teams. Their main job is to decide what the campaign is for that year, and do they want a billboard, or do they want a TV ad? No analytics department at all. Tickets were priced the same for every game, because why shouldn't you? Look at today. I mean, we have big marketing content groups. We have, I mean, look at these rooms here. A lot of these are people who work at teams. So that has made our team business so much more sophisticated. And all of those people spend all their time thinking, how can we do things new and differently to grow? And especially in the NBA, where you look in social media, we can talk about our social media numbers. Something I always talk about is 65% of our team's social media followers are outside the US and Canada. And no team has less than half. So every single team.
Every team has majority foreign followers.
So that is our opportunity. They're not all coming to a game in Boston, but how can the Boston Celtics reach their fans globally?
How do you personalize? Because in all of your businesses, there's personalization, whether it's the merchandise, the gaming that they want to play, the team, the people who are watching or coming, and then of course the league fans. So is that the most important trend right now? Is personalization, data tracking, matching a customer to a ticket buyer, to a viewer? Is it all of that you guys are all looking at? Yes to all above?
Data science and using data to better personalize and curate experiences is absolutely the future of almost any industry connected to technology that's consumer-based.
Is that why, at least in your case, when I see the NBA in-play app, and I see a lot of these free game apps, is a lot of that to generate a database of people that are interested in games, so that when gambling becomes legal in those states that they live in, hey, DraftKings, we're on a database, your name was on our database. Is that part of why these free games are out
building
there?
a database is a little bit different than what I was talking about, although certainly building a customer database is very important. I think that it's about having the capabilities to use the data that you get to then personalize. Anyone can collect data. In fact, most companies don't use most of their data.
You just collect it and it sits
or it's not organized in a way that can be accessible. It used to be also the reason most companies didn't use their data is it was manual when it was used. Even if it was manual through segmentations and other things, it was people doing it. It wasn't machines doing it. Now with machines and self-learning machines that can actually, at an individual, not segment level, create unique experiences that are tailored to whatever that customer's data is saying they want. It's pretty endless what you can do and the amount of data you can process. So we're looking at it more as building the capabilities and the models. Collecting the data is, yes, that's an important thing. If you're building your business, you should be getting that, but it sort of serves a different objective for us.
Yeah, it's really about how you use the data. Like, so for, Fanatics, we have one of the world's largest databases of sports fans, because we go across leagues, across teams, and we're able to tie, to an individual consumer all their different team preferences, right? Both from a, collegiate perspective, as well as the different teams. And you really have to get it right, because the way the consumers are going, they're going to grab their nearest computer, and that computer is their phone. And so the real estate you have is, obviously small. And so every time you want to show them a product, you got to make sure that you're really getting the right product to the right fan at the right time. And so knowing their preferences, because knowing a team preference is just as important of showing what product or what product not to show, right? So the worst thing you can do is, send a Super Bowl championship, Brady T-shirt to a Rams fan, right? So you got to really get that.
Have you guys done that before?
No.
Only when they ask for it.
We're very careful. But I mean that's part
So
part
you'll
of our
track,
process.
like, okay, Steve Pagliuca, Boston Celtics fan,
Right.
and not New York Knicks fan, not Sixers fan. You'll
Right,
make
and
sure
you have to be very careful about, because what we want to do is we want to identify the subset segments of fans and fans of different players, right? So, for example, when Kyrie went over, to the Celtics, like, there are some people that are Kyrie fans, but, and you want to get the Celtics fans, they're really excited to get it. But, the other teams that didn't get him, they might be upset. Same thing for, our Sixers players, right? So when we got Jimmy Butler over, and then we were actually, as soon as that trade was announced, we were printing those jerseys because we had banks of blank Sixers jerseys, and then we got the number, and we started printing them, and then we wanted to get that messaging and both through notifications and through social media to Jimmy Butler fans, to Sixers fans, and we were selling those jerseys within minutes of that being announced. You're going to see Bryce Harper Phillies jerseys.
Have you guys already started printing those?
We're working.
Print a bunch? Do you get a bunch of teams printed with Bryce Harper just in case he signs Dodgers, White Sox, or you wait?
No, we don't have to.
They can do it quick now.
Yeah, we can do it. So the images, we have images prepared, right? But we don't actually hit print on the actual garments until we know.
Where do those jerseys go that when the team doesn't win, and it's like, LA Rams, Super Bowl champ, there's all these rumors, like, do they get sent to Africa?
That's the thing.
We're not, where do they go?
So in the old days, there were jerseys, and they used to sort of negotiate kill prices, and that a lot of the retailers, because they actually wanted to have them in brick and mortar retail, they would actually take the risk on those jerseys. But now what we do is, after a hot market, we have screen printers strategically placed throughout the country in the markets of the winning teams. And then once we know who wins, we start printing. So we don't, maybe we took a little bit of a risk when we partnered with Uber. And so, a couple years ago, when the Patriots won around Boston, you could load up your Uber app, and then literally within minutes after the game, you could order, your Patriots championship.
So it's like merch delivery, but
it was merch. It was from merch delivery. So we had to pre-print a few of those shirts just for right after the game. But after that, it was all on demand. And even with the Capitals, after they won the Stanley Cup, not only did we have Uber cars, but we had Uber bikes. Delivering, that merchandise. And so fans could actually get their merchandise in 10 minutes. So when you talk about innovation, it's not just about innovation about the product, it's about innovation on how you get that product to the fans. And again, most hot market sales happen, within, days after,
Because a week later, people have moved on. They don't want to buy it.
Right, because they want to wear that, jersey or
like
championship,
the next day at work,
or to the parade, right? So you got to be able to meet that demand.
Did you guys
I think the next level of this is going to be precisely that, where, as a Celtics, we try to start with the fan, and what does the fan want, and when do they want it, and how do they want it. And the database really helps you, because you start to understand one fan, may love Kyrie, another fan likes Jason Tatum, and you can tailor offerings, and the fans like that. And the more customization, the more engagement they have with the team. You can send them videos of a dunk of Jason Tatum. So the more we can kind of customize the experience of each fan, the more connected they are to the team, the more engaged they are, and you can kind of get them it's become a 24/7 kind of business.
I was going to say, just real quickly, thinking about this printing process, did you guys get burned in that Super Bowl with the Patriots and the Falcons when it was 28-3?
No.
Did you? So you don't just start printing them in the third quarter?
No, we didn't. No, literally, it was we.
Because you can imagine, guys can imagine, right? Like, what, this game's probably over. Let's start printing. You would have, Jason would have started printing.
No, we all knew the Patriots were going to win that.
No, we didn't. I mean, we had screen printers, in Atlanta. We had screen printers, in New England. But until we know who won. We didn't print it, but they're getting those same T-shirts that they wear on the field. So yes, we have to print the shirts, for the players, but that's it, and that's the roster of 60 odd some players.
Going forward, the next few years as gambling rolls out in the rest of the country, state by state, do we think from the team and league side, is what Jason is doing the next big revenue source for leagues and teams? I mean, given that media rights may not go up at the same rate that they've got, a lot of these stadiums have been done. Like, where is the growth opportunities? That one, to me, seems textbook most obvious.
It's certainly a big revenue opportunity for us, but more importantly, we think it's an engagement opportunity. And that's,
to get the fans in and customize.
Absolutely. I mean, data shows that fans who bet or engage in fantasy or watch are engaged 3 times longer. And that's really exciting for us. And so we think that is going to be the big impact of gambling.
Yeah, I mean, Amy hit it exactly right. What you're doing is you're supercharging the full experience, and so you're going to create many more opportunities for someone to actually think about a merchandise or a ticketing opportunity because they're so much more engaged. So that fan engagement, those interactions, those give me and fanatics that many more opportunities to get a merchandise, a piece of product, a jersey, a hat, a tee in front of the fan.
Yeah, I agree that gambling will be some source of revenue, but I would think the big growth opportunities are globalization, international. From traveling the world many times in 1 week, you see great interest in the NBA specifically in Africa.
Is that why the new Africa League was started? Like now when you mention the majority of every team's social media is international, I don't think anyone would know that or expect that for every single team.
I mean, one of the special things about the NBA is anywhere anyone grows up playing basketball, they aspire to play in the NBA, and that's different in every other sport. And so,
right, in soccer, we know where the best
who
league
knows
is.
where you want to go, and so we know there's a lot more opportunity out there than we're capturing. The Basketball Africa League we just announced is one. 35 of our players were either born in Africa or one of their parents was born in Africa. So we're working with FIBA, and we're going to launch this league in January. Around 12 countries, and so we think it's going to be a great opportunity to grow the sport there and to provide a local league there that people growing up playing basketball can aspire to play. That's not only the NBA, but there's a league there.
And I assume that helps you guys because it gives you another market to sell jerseys, get people people either as NBA fans or BAL fans.
It's amazing. We preseason game in China, like Shanghai, went to that Sixers were playing the Mavericks, and I was blown away by it was an almost insatiable demand, that the Chinese consumers had for basketball. So I think the stats were, I think 55 million Chinese consumers watched the Sixers preseason game.
55 million.
I think it was 55 million.
Yeah,
That's
the
like
numbers are crazy.
And that was on broadcast TV for a preseason game.
That's more than what watch the NBA
Shocking.
Finals in
Right.
America.
So if you think about that, and that's for a preseason game, and that's in Shanghai. So you can just imagine how where that's going to go and what that means for the consumer. And by the way, in that venue, in Shanghai, everybody was wearing jerseys.
Basketball is the second largest sport now in China.
Shouldn't you guys just put all your national TV games in at 7 in the morning rather than 7 p.m.? If you're going to get 55 million people, what difference does 3 million on ESPN make then?
Those are the things we talk about, absolutely, but that is challenging. I don't think the Steve's
It'd be hard
players
to
would
get
like
people
that.
there.
Just watch it on TV, I guess.
But the phones have changed everything. When you go to Hong Kong and you're traveling into work, people are watching the games on their phone because it's 7 a.m., 8 a.m.
It's
work
their
time.
morning.
It's probably the number one thing watched in China. Going into work, they're watching NBA games. They're watching the Celtics and the Lakers right on the phone.
How do you guys handle that? Because they can benefit from international, but you've got so many domestic, state by state, country by country rules if you want to spread your business around. Do you guys see them expanding internationally and it's like, hey, wait for us, we can't get there. The rules aren't there for us.
No, I mean, first, internationally is way ahead in most places. China isn't one of them, but most places in Europe are far ahead in terms of gaming regulation and sports gambling regulation. Also, the reason our business is going to have a huge audience is because there's a huge audience for the NBA.
So you're invested just in their business growing because you just sort of tag along with that.
It's a beautiful relationship because when they do better, we do better. And as our people go from being casual fans and starting to use our products and bet on other games, they start watching other games they wouldn't normally watch. And maybe they pay attention longer if they're playing fantasy, if a game's over already by the scoreboard, if their players are still in it. So it's a really nice, virtuous relationship that really, there's no case that they benefit from growth that we don't, and vice versa.
How does basketball fall? And you do more sports than basketball. How does basketball stack up versus other sports?
For fantasy, the three big sports are by far football, basketball, and baseball. Golf has a pretty big audience too, but those are the three that stand out. On the betting side, basketball is huge, but college is also. So college basketball is almost as big as the NBA just because there's so many games to bet on, which is different from fantasy. For fantasy, most people don't know the players. They change every year now. So it's a little bit different than the players who've been in the NBA for a decade or more, and maybe you got to know the new class coming in. Whereas betting, people can just pick the games and bet on the games. It's a more mainstream product, not a game of skill. So. But basketball as a sport is really, outside of football, our most popular sport.
I've got questions here on the iPad, so I figure we've got about 10 minutes to go. I'll get started on these, and if anyone in the room has questions, feel free to what is it, Twitter, and they do the hashtag? It's behind me. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, well, we've got a lot here to work with. So, as you were just talking about gambling, one of the questions is, will daily fantasy be de-emphasized as gambling spreads?
So I think whenever you have multiple products, there's going to be some cannibalization. There's going to be some shared voice because you have to market multiple products. So by that nature, it will be. But we're finding in New Jersey, and believe me, we have pumped sports betting about as hard and marketed about as hard as we can in New Jersey. There's still a large chunk of customers that are only playing daily fantasy. So it's a very important product, and it's one that we need to keep around, and we need to keep investing in, and we need to keep marketing.
How close are we, still for you, how close are we to being able, this is the question, how far are we from fans being able to gamble directly at the stadium? I assume you can.
Well, you can now.
Yeah, like if in New Jersey there was a pro basketball team, you would be able to do that in the stadium, and then as it rolls around, I assume teams and the leagues aren't trying to block that in their facilities,
we have
right?
data. Tons of betting occurred at the Meadowlands, at whether the Giants or Jets were playing. Got a little less so as the teams weren't doing as well later in the year. No, I'm kidding. But there was a lot of betting. It's actually really interesting. We have really, one of the things that we built over the last few years, partly for regulatory purposes, but partly for business purposes, is really strong geolocation capabilities. So we can tell who's at the stadium. And there's lots of betting going on in the stadium, lots of betting going on in the parking lot before the stadium.
But let's say Massachusetts legalizes it and it's full mobile and it's go ahead, gamble all you want. I assume the NBA and the Celtics would be fine then with people coming to the stadium
Well, they
and betting
can't.
on
What can they
DraftKings
do?
on their phone.
I mean, they're not going to stop it unless they shut down internet at the stadium.
Yeah, that. I assume that would.
We follow the league's direction on that, and I think the league has been out front of this gambling issue. Europe has gambling for years, and the key thing for the league is to keep this thing regulated and clean, and make sure the games are played in a very fair manner, refereed in a fair manner, and they're all over that.
Yeah,
doing that.
First and foremost is integrity when it comes to our approach to sports betting, and we do see what's happened in the EPL and other leagues in the world where betting is legal, and so we do want to make sure if our fans are betting that they're in an environment that promotes the fairness and integrity and all of those good things.
Another question, two parts. This is for anybody. How do you structure your companies to drive innovation? And then how do you evaluate those successes and failures? Because I know from working at a big media company, there's a lot of divisions, there's a lot of departments, and you need to get permission from some boss if you want to try something, but it takes away margin, it takes away time. And so there's a lot of things that, honestly, that I try to do, my colleagues try to do. We're not allowed to do it, even though it might be innovative. So I wonder at each of your companies, that they're all pretty big companies, how do you allow for that, and then how do you measure it or decide when we need to pull the plug?
It's more cultural than structural. I mean, you can certainly have an innovation group, which helps because it makes someone's group's mission to actually innovate, and that helps because then it's what they're thinking about all day long. But you really want it coming from all parts of your company, and that's more cultural than anything. What you just described about people saying no, if your company, the people at the company feel like risk-taking is not rewarded, everything is a no.
Then you just stop
that
asking.
won't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really less about, what kind of org structure do you build, and more building a culture where risk-taking is encouraged, and people are at all levels of the company are encouraged to innovate. One of the things we stress is best ideas can come from anywhere. We want to empower people, and we don't want to get in the way. So we try to make sure that every employee in the company knows they can come up with an idea and pursue it against anything.
Yeah, I mean, we have 3 different companies. Fanatics is our largest. We have 6,000 sort of office employees. Ruala, we have 600-700, and then ShopRunner we have about like 100. But I think for us, it's not just, it's cultural, and part of how you solve the cultural piece is that when you recruit, and when you look at who you want to recruit, who you want to retain, who you want to develop, you look for that ability to innovate and be creative. And you want to make sure that when you're bringing folks in, they understand that part of being, someone at Fanatics or, at Real, or that they have that sort of DNA to really have that obligation to almost come up with those new ideas and have an ownership stake in the growth, of the company. And then you have to have management and leaders, in different parts of the company that are going to, take those ideas and reward, some of that risk taking, some of that, some of that idea generation, and ultimately you got to figure out how to put it all together.
Do you guys want people jumping over their bosses' heads and coming to the CEO and the co-owner and the CIO? Do you guys want that? Or is it like, no, you deal with your direct boss, but don't start reaching all the way to the top of the company for everyone's ideas?
I think what we find both at Bain Capital and at the Celtics and through many business Bain Capital is the world has become much flatter in terms of structure. And in today's generation, young people can come in and really make a difference. So what we try to do is we wouldn't promote jumping over some boss's head, but we have an open culture where I will sit with associates and managers and vice presidents at every level of the company and talk about ideas. At Bain Capital, should we do a new fund in a new area, new vertical kind of fund? And then we'll pilot those things. So we don't go out with a big splash, you pilot it with our own capital. And we've probably created 7 or 8 funds, based on piloting things, and some work, some don't work. But if you pilot it and see it's working, and then you can build a larger effort. Same thing at the Celtics. We have very creative people, and when they have ideas, whether it's Wick or Rich or Sully or Ted Dalton, people listen to those ideas and welcome them in. We'll try the same thing. We'll pilot a program with augmented reality in the stadium to see how it goes. Do the fans like it? Do they not like it? And then we'll build from there. So again, it all starts with a culture of having a flat approach, listening to all the good ideas, no matter where they come from, and then doing pilots and trying to implement those, and then investing in the best ones.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Like, at Fanatics, 5 years ago, esports, a lot of people talked about it, but, for us, it was hard to imagine, okay, how do we build a big business around, licensed merchandise around esports? But there was a team of, actually within our developers, that were really just excited about the esports opportunity. And so they had a kind of a small group that would meet kind of on their own time to really kind of, try to imagine what a merchandise business around esports could look like. And so they stayed, steadfast. And then eventually it got to the point where, the time was right and we found an opportunity, and then we partnered with, Activision Blizzard on Overwatch. But that was largely as a result of the team kind of bubbling up the opportunity and staying steadfast to say, hey, you guys really need to look at it, even though it may not be a huge opportunity in the near term.
We got 3.5 minutes to go and about 8 questions. So this will be like rapid fire now. So Amy, the NFL has an investment arm, the 32 Equity. Has the NBA considered doing something similar?
Well, we do not have that today, and it is something that we always continually think about. Back to my original point of how do we grow, and it's through partners a lot of the time. We're selective in how we invest. We have had some investments where it's something we're continually looking at, but nothing like they have.
Nothing too obvious. Okay. The NBA has successfully engaged younger fans via a looser policy around sharing highlights on social media. We know some leagues, they're a little bit more stringent with that. Can Steve and Amy expound on what that decision-making process was like? Was it a no-brainer, or was it hotly contested?
We've had this strategy for a while. We distinctly see our games as, we like to say, meals, and highlights and other things as snacks, and they're not something that cannibalizes each other. And so we're very proactive in terms of new platforms, testing new platforms, getting our teams to test new platforms, and distributing those as where the fans are.
Okay, Steve, the 76ers recently launched a sports innovation lab. Is that a model that will become the new normal for teams?
We'll certainly monitor that and look at that. I think at the Celtics we have a great staff. Most people have been there 10, 15 years, and we have them looking at innovation. So if that's a model that actually turbocharges that, we'll certainly take it into consideration.
Another one for you.
We'll steal any good idea that's available from the Sixers.
Somebody asked, how are you guys measuring the success of augmented reality versus the cost?
That's a great question. I think, again, you start out small, experiment, see if fans really like it. Does it add to the game? Does it distract to the game? And basically, it's a primary research-driven, customer-focused approach. So if the customers like it, you verify that. If it adds value, I agree with Amy. What the NBA has done fantastically is it's not tried to restrict anything, and it just gets engagements for those big meals by serving out the snacks. Augmented reality could be another snack for the game.
What is the NBA currently testing in the G League?
A lot. One of the things we're doing that comes to mind, we have G League games on Twitch this year, and it's been interesting because we are fans. If you watch a game on Twitch, you can chat live, and on our esports leagues, there's tens of thousands of comments. So fans can vote for the MVP of the game while they're watching the game in one seamless experience, and then that MVP comes out and answers questions from fans right after the game. Those are the types of interesting things that we see when we think of the future of the viewing experience. Those type of things. So it's a good chance for us to test it.
Saj, are you looking at 3D printing any of your merchandise?
We've evaluated that, in partnership with Nike, who we're doing a lot with, with their shoes. There's some really interesting, developments there. So it's something we're looking at, but right now it's not cost effective to 3D print a jersey as opposed to a traditional methods. But for some of the hard goods, that there might be some opportunities.
I bet they meant having other people be able to 3D print. You send it to them, like the digital version.
That's true. With a digital jersey, I'm concerned you can't put it in the laundry if it's a computer that I'm wearing.
Right.
If you stain it, you're probably
Right.
in
So
trouble,
you
right?
send it digital and then you print it. You print it with a 3D printer. I'm serious.
That's it, 0 seconds. We're all done. I know Amy has a train to get, so we're going to let her race out of here as fast as possible. I promise you we would be done on time. So thanks, guys, for sticking around the last panel of the day. We appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thanks to our panelists.
They had a thing where
That's great.
letting people down.